Good day, everybody. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to the third day for our virtual workshop on palm oil sustainable palm oil supply chain and sustainable landscape. First of all, I'd like to thank you. I'd like to give thanks to our participants. We have received the video summary for yesterday's topic from 3 groups. I hope that other groups can follow suit so that we can conduct this workshop in an orderly manner. Okay, so as usual, we will first have a pre-test to see what your perceptions are like for today's topic, and then we'll get into the material. We will have one speaker for today. We will have a Q&A session, and we will have a video from our team, and we will get into the post-test, just like usual, just like yesterday and the day before. Okay, I think that's it for the introduction. I think we can get straight into our pre-test. Our team will soon share the Mentimeter link in the chat. And I'd like to remind you again to use as little words as possible when answering the questions. Preferably maybe like 4 or 5 words at most. If you can use 3 words, that's even better. Okay, the link has been shared by Mr. Adli, our team member, and you can join straight away. Okay, first question, what is a supply chain? Remember to click the link to join the Mentimeter, or you can simply go to menti.com and enter the code, which is 39940441. Supply chain, there's 2 responses already, brings all things together, transfer raw material, controlling what? Maybe be more specific. Controlling what? Maybe process of availing goods. Okay. Just like yesterday, the day before, just like yesterday, the post-test will be the same questions. We will see how your perception has changed from the material. Then you can supply and demand. Okay, we'll wait for a couple more responses, and then we'll move on to the next one. Oh, okay. Action actors in commodity, I think that's commodity. That's for raw material. All right, we got 7 responses already. I think let's move on to the next question. Okay, second question. Who are the players in the palm oil supply chain? Exporter, farmers, middlemen. There are a lot of players in the palm oil supply chain. If I'm not mistaken, you can enter, I think, 3 answers maximum. Businessmen, middlemen, from farm to farm. Refineries. Yep, I think they are all part of the palm oil supply chain. I think there's no wrong answers because there's a lot of players involved in it. Okay, we got 12 responses already. I think we can move on to the next question. What do you know about smallholders? I think yesterday's topic touched on this a little bit about smallholders, if I'm not mistaken. Farmer, yep. Definitely farmers. Maybe what's the difference between smallholders and companies? Trade to others, little land, yeah. Family, yeah. There's a lot of family workers in smallholders operating under a small scale. Farm on a small scale, yeah. Much smaller than big companies. Less than 2 hectares. Yeah, it depends, but I think on average there's like 2 hectares or less. I think we got less leverage. That's a critical point there. Less than 50. Okay, we got 11 responses already. Let's move on to the next question. Do smallholders play a crucial part in the palm oil supply chain? Do they or do they not? Because they are, as the name implies, they are small. Maybe small means not crucial. Maybe it is. I don't know. Yes, right. No. Okay, we got 4 responses. I think 2 is it. Yes, 41%. All right. Why not 42%? Agree. Okay, you got 6 responses already. The majority agrees that they are a crucial part in the palm oil supply chain by providing services. Yeah, but then there's an argument. Companies can also provide the services that smallholders provide. Well, we'll just see what the material will say about this later. Got 8 responses already. We'll wait for a couple more answers and then we'll move on. Maybe one or 2 more answers. Right, let's move on to the next question. Are they an inclusive part in the palm oil supply chain? They being the smallholders. Okay, the majority answered crucial, but are they inclusive? Do they play an inclusive part? Okay, Sue answered yes. They push the tasks. Yeah, maybe the crucial task that is needed for the supply chain to operate. As producers, no. Okay, we got 5. Let's wait for a couple more. Okay, the majority agrees again. There's always one, like last time, there's one person that doesn't agree. Okay, that was the end of our pre-test. We'll see at the post-test if your perception will change after the presentation from our speaker. Speaking of a speaker, we will firstly get into our, there's a short video from our team, and then we'll move on to the presentation from our speaker. So first, we'll have a short video from our team.
Palm oil production sustained the livelihoods of many rural communities. In Indonesia, more than 40% of the crop area is managed by 1.5 million smallholder farmers. Sadly, palm oil has also become a major driver of deforestation. SNV is taking up the challenge to increase palm oil production and improve smallholder livelihoods without further fueling the destruction of forests. Our approach is threefold. Palm oil in the pharmaceutical, cosmetics, and food industries. To prove no deforestation along a supply chain, it is crucial that production can be traced back to the farm. SNV supports companies to track production to source with AgvoFlow, a traceability tool for collecting, evaluating, and displaying data on yields, inputs, and management. Once it is clear where the palm oil is sourced, agreements can be made on sustainable development, and local forest cover can be monitored and safeguarded using drones and satellite imagery. To produce more with less and encourage fair and effective trade with businesses, SNV trains smallholders in better farm management practices. We build their knowledge and capacity to increase yields and quality and advise on alternative expansion areas. Our training programs in Sumatra and Kalimantan target over 15,000 smallholders. SNV's landscape siting tool maps areas suitable for sustainable agricultural expansion and identifies vulnerable forests at risk of deforestation. Using this information, we agree with smallholders and businesses where expansion can safely take place, and they commit not to produce or source palm oil from forests at risk. With this proven set of tools, SNV is working towards a sustainable palm oil sector, which brings greater benefits to smallholder farmers while protecting our forests for the future.
Okay, that was a short video from our team, and now we can move on to our the presentation and discussion session. Our speaker for today will be Mr. Robert Nichols. He is from the Musimas Group, and he's the general manager of the programs and projects with the Musimas Group, which is a global palm oil corporation with operations spanning the entire palm oil value chain. He oversees the implementation and scaling up of smallholder projects that link to the supply chain of the group operations, as well as that of third-party suppliers. His portfolio includes the Indonesia Palm Oil Development for Smallholders Program, or IPODS, nice name, aimed at enhancing independent smallholder access to global markets through addressing key challenges. IPODS is implemented in a collaboration with the International Finance Corporation, a member of the World Bank Group, and is currently the largest smallholder project being run in Indonesia. He is also spearheading the development and ground implementation of the Extension Services Program, or ESP, that links to third-party suppliers, that links to third-party supply chains across identified priority provinces in Indonesia. Together, these parallel smallholder projects form a critical component of the group's wider strategy on supply chain engagement. Prior to joining Musimas, Mr. Rob has been working in the palm oil industry for 18 years and is well-versed with the plantations businesses in Indonesia. He has worked in several different locations in Kalimantan and Papua in state operations and new development, and his last posting was to Papua New Guinea as the regional general manager. He also has a background in agricultural trainings and has been involved in setting up training programs for different companies in the industry. Okay, so without further ado, please welcome Mr. Rob Nichols from Musimas. Time is yours, sir.
Great, thanks very much. appreciate the opportunity to have this discussion today and present some information about independent smallholders and where we're heading, what we think about independent smallholders, and the importance that they play in the industry. Shortly, I'd just like to run through a presentation to explain a little bit about the process that Musimas has gone through in terms of its work with independent smallholders. Then I'll do a summary to answer 3 key questions that have been put forward as part of this program. I really encourage people later, if you've got any questions, please feel free to ask. I think Dana and team have always put on really good displays here, and they're very open. You know, we're not trying to greenwash. It's about providing real information, the challenges, the things that need to be improved, what's going well, and the real benefits of this to people as well, because we do have to remember there's planet, people, and profit. We obviously have to look after the planet, but we have a developing economy. We've got a growing population, so we need to ensure that people are also catered for, but it's done in a profitable way without damaging the environment any further than it's actually occurred. And we implement processes and programs that do the best for all involved in the industry. So if I can just share my PowerPoint slide, I can share my screen. Yep, sorry, maybe 1 second. Sorry, I'm not sure if you've seen that.
Sorry, sir, we're not seeing it.
Okay, let me just find where that is. So I can't pick it up from my, oh yeah, sorry. Okay, you've got that now? Okay, thanks.
So we only see your Explorer.
Oh, you can't see the...
Yeah, we can't see the presentation.
Okay, it says your screen is sharing. You are sharing.
Sorry, sir, maybe our team can share the slide for you?
Yep, okay. I did send a PDF file to Ibu yesterday.
Yeah, okay. Please hold on a moment, please.
Yeah, sorry about that. Bit of a technical glitch, sorry. Forgive the old man. Okay, great, yeah. Okay, next slide, thanks. So we'll just go through a bit of an overview. So who are smallholder farmers? By definition, in Indonesia, a smallholder or a small-scale farmer, it's someone who owns up to 20 hectares of planted palm oil. And there are broadly 2 types in Indonesia. There are those that are involved in a scheme, and then there's independent smallholders. So when we talk about scheme smallholders, they operate under a government-initiated program with direct support and management from plantation companies. Today, we're going to focus more on independent smallholders. And independent smallholders are self-financed, self-managed, self-equipped, and not bound to any one mill, which means the crop that they produce can be sold to anywhere in the marketplace to the best possible price, generally speaking. We can just scroll down, thanks. So why smallholders are key to sustainable palm oil? I saw there was a question asked before, are smallholders important? Well, there's a whole range of reasons. Smallholders manage approximately 41% of the planted palm area. Now, this represents about 6.4 million hectares of land, so it's a huge amount of land. And independent farmers particularly face great challenges, including they've got limited expertise, they've got limited access to finance, they lack market access, and poor yields. So as a result, smallholders, especially independent smallholders, require support to discourage deforestation and slash and burn agricultural techniques. And this is a really hot issue around the world at the moment. So we've really got to focus on how can we help smallholders overcome these challenges How can we help them intensify their yields rather than expand their land area? Next slide, please. We'll go down one more. So in terms of Musimas, I'll just go through what we're doing at the moment, and then I'll link back to the 3 questions that I think are really important. So in 2015, we commenced the program, the iPods program with IFC, member of the World Bank. Then in 2017, we continued to do work with IFC, but we also started another program, the Extension Services Program, where we reached out to smallholders who sell their crop to other mills that supply to us. And then in 2020, we established a smallholder hub. Now, these two I'll explain a little bit more as we go down to the next slide, please. So we've got 2 real approaches. So, through our work with IFC on independent smallholders, we generated a lot of training materials. We gained a lot of really valuable experience, and we think IFC did a fantastic job. They're really embedded in the community. They did a lot of good work on developing programs. But we looked at it, we thought, well, there's 2 ways we can address this. There's training for smallholders. So that's direct engagement with smallholders. So our staff can actually train independent smallholders. But we think there's up to 2.5 million smallholders in Indonesia, maybe 1.5 million independent smallholders. Now, Musimas is committed to training smallholders, but we're not capable. We don't have the capacity to train 1.5 million. So how can we scale up what we're doing? So we looked at another program called Training for Trainers, Smallholder Hub. And that's where we train the trainers who will later go and train the smallholders. Next slide, please. So training for smallholders, and through this program, we engage with smallholders directly and provide them with agronomic training, access to financial support in global markets, and education on legal requirements. So generally, these are farmers in our direct supply chain. They sell to the mills that Musimas owns. Next slide, thanks. So training for smallholders, there's a lot of different modules that we cover, but here's just the key that we cover at the moment. We have things on environment, where we're talking about the replanting, the need for replanting, no burning, good agricultural practices. Now, where we're moving to the right-hand side here, business management. So we've got financial literacy and management, access to finance assistance, market access, and sustainability certification. Now, these are really, really important because we have to remember that these are smallholders, but it doesn't mean that they're not small business operators. So we're really focused on building the capacity of the individuals to perform their business in a more professional way so that they have better yields, they have better economic outcomes. So it's a win-win situation. We also look at social. We look at things like gender inclusion, food security, alternate livelihoods, and others. It's like forming farmer group associations, administration, and other types of support. Next slide, thanks. So I'm not going to read all of this because these slides will actually be made available, but there's a whole range of modules that we work on, from good agricultural practices that are mentioned there, things about certification, how we identify high carbon stock areas, first aid training, etc. So it's a whole melting pot of different skills that we're offering the farmers that we work with. Next slide, thanks. So up until the end of last year, so this is until the end of 2022, 30% approximately of the supply of CPO in our own supply chain came from independent smallholders. So that's a huge volume because Musimas is one of the biggest integrated palm oil companies in the world. So far, we've trained over 36,200 independent smallholders in our training programs, and that number has since grown. As of December 2022, we had worked with and assisted 3,537 independent smallholders gain RSPO certification. And that's a real achievement. That's something we're really proud of. We're really proud of the associations that have done the hard work to achieve that as well. As well as RSPO, which is an internationally recognized certificate, we have the ISPO, which is the Indonesian Sustainable Palm Oil Certification Scheme, which is mandatory from the government. And we've assisted 1,600 independent smallholders achieve that certification as well. So this is something that's really important in the work that we're doing as well. Next slide, thanks. As part of our training for smallholders, some of the things that we've worked on and we will continue to work on is a digital finance and financial learning platform, things like Agrion. Because so many of the independent smallholders we work with are unbanked. When you're unbanked, if you need access to finance, formal finance, it's very difficult. So we're looking at how can we work with farmers so that they enter the mainstream financial systems, which enables them to access finance. And we've been doing some work with MUFG, Denimon Bank, and IAPS, and that's continuing. And we've got programs in place, and we're discussing other things at the moment. We're also working with L3F, which is the Livelihoods Fund for Family Planning. And it's a very holistic model. It's a long-term program of over 6 years in North Sumatra. And we're going to be looking exclusively at things like regenerative agriculture, composting, alternate livelihoods, gender inclusion, youth training. So it's really important when we look at this, we're looking at long-term partnerships and long-term programs. Now that program is working with Danone, Livelihoods, L'Oreal, Mars, and SMB. Next slide, thanks. Training for smallholders. Again, we've got other projects in different parts of the country. In Sungai Linau, a landscape conservation and livelihoods program. Because Musimas is focused on what we know about, and that's about the palm oil industry and how we can improve the agronomic performance of plantations. So we work with other companies, and as you can see, we work with Cargill, PepsiCo, Nestle, Cinemas, Proforest, Diameter. And we focus on the agronomic side. And this conservation and livelihoods program, we have experts from other areas help training the smallholders in alternate livelihoods, in how to manage high conservation value areas, business management, and also things on certification as well. So it's a very holistic model, and we're finding that landscape or working with multi-stakeholders gives us better results. Next slide, thanks. Now, another thing that we've done, and it's one of the questions that was posed to me, was, is certification important in inclusivity? And we think it is. So we've worked with smallholders, and at the moment, we've helped 4 associations gain RSPO certification. Now, those farmers can sell the credits, and when they sell the credits, Musimas doesn't take 1 cent, 1 rupiah from that. The money goes directly to the farmer associations. And over a 3-year period, $1.3 million has been generated by the sales of credits. And those funds have gone directly to each of the different associations. Something we're very proud of. The associations have done some really wonderful things with the money. And I'll explain more about that after this training session. But you can see here different checks that have been handed to the different associations. So, this is a really important part of how we make smallholder farmers better business operators. And I'm not talking you have to wear a suit and a tie and work in an office, but more understanding of cash flow, profit, spending of your finances. Next, thanks. As I said, here's some pictures. These are the 4 group managers of our different associations. And so as of November, those figures I mentioned before. And so at the bottom, they're the 4 different associations. This year, we're going to work with another 2. We're developing 2 more associations. So this program is expanding for us. Next slide, thanks. Now, working for the Smallholder Hub, we're really working closely with the local level government. And in this photo, the person on the left-hand side is actually from an NGO. And sometimes people say, well, that's funny, you're working with NGOs and, you're a company in an industry that a lot of NGOs don't like. But we want to improve our performance. And part of that is working with NGOs closely to see what we can do to improve. Rather than be enemies, we need to work together because we have a common cause. People, planet, and profit. So in this photo, we've also got government officials. They have targets they have to achieve. And we go and we open programs and we deliver training programs, but we do it as a team. It's not Musima saying you need to do this. We're linking in with the local level government, with the requirements they have for their farmers. We're working with NGOs to say, well, what are the environmental standards we should be putting forward here? So I just want to stress that these smallholder hubs, it's a real collaboration, and it's not Musima saying we're the best and we're doing everything and we know everything. It's not like that at all. Okay, next slide, thanks. Sorry, I've got a bit of a technical issue here. Trying to get my screen unlocked. Oh my. Sorry, I've got an issue with my screen. I can't see the. Okay, sorry, back again. Training smallholder hubs. We've actually worked in a number of different areas across Indonesia. In Aceh, we've established a number of smallholder hubs. Also, we've established them in Riau, as well as now into Kalimantan. Through this, we've trained 400 different village extension officers in total. Now, 400 village extension officers, if they train 100 farmers each, we're starting to get large numbers of farmers trained. So we see this as an effort to scale up the work we're doing. We can't do it by ourselves, but we can do it jointly with others. So we do training that we provide to our own staff. So we're providing them with the latest knowledge, the latest skills in agriculture, in things around best management practices, so that they can help members of their own community. Next slide, thanks. So presently, we've got 6 smallholder established in 6 different regencies. We've trained 400 village extension officers, and that number is growing. And we've trained more than 5,100 smallholders have been trained by the village extension officers. It's a process, but we hope that that builds, it gains pace. As the smallholder village extension officers become more confident, more and more smallholders will be trained. Next, thanks. So, you know, we're really proud to say that we're part of the largest independent smallholder program in Indonesia. You can see the latest figure is over 41,400 smallholders have been engaged. It covers an area of 85,900, greater than 85,900 small hectares. And we have over 40 staff embedded in the community at these different locations that you can see on the map. So with that, we've got a team. When I first started, we had a team of 5 people. Now my team here is 58 people. So we see the importance in smallholders, and we're building the resources to enable us to reach more and more smallholders. Next, thanks. So, you know, we've got some testimonials here because we're working with the end users, the end buyers like AAK, Nestle, General Mills. Now, they understand the importance for their supply chain to have crude palm oil produced environmentally friendly as possible, that it upholds the best social standards, and that it's improving the livelihoods of smallholders. So we've got a number of programs that we're working co-sponsored by companies like AAK, Nestle, General Mills have just signed on for a 3rd year. General Mills have been an excellent supporter of the programs we're doing. I'm not going to read this because, as I said, these slides will be made available and that you can have a look at later. So this is just a bit of a background, a bit of proof on who we've been working with. Next slide, thanks. So 2 other things that we've been doing. It's really important for us to look at, well, you know, we've been doing this training, but is it making a difference? So we've got a partnership. It was with ETH Zurich, but now they're working with Cambridge University to research to see, is there an improvement in environmental standards, in yield, etc., as a result of our training? So that's something that's really important so that we can later validate what we're doing. Is it working or is it not working? So we've got to be open to criticism and how we can improve to make bigger impacts. Another area we're working is a verified sourcing area, the VSA. and that's with IDH. It's a Dutch arm of the Dutch government, part of their funding, and that's working right across Aceh to make the whole of Aceh what they call a verified sourcing area. So we want to verify that we're sourcing only from legal producers. At the moment, we're working in Aceh Tamiang, Aceh Supulu Salam, Aceh Singkil. We're just starting in Southern Aceh and Eastern Aceh. So it's a big focus for us. And why? It's one of the largest remaining complete standing rainforest in Southeast Asia or the world. It's got very highly endangered rhinoceros, elephant, and tigers, as well as orangutan. So it's an important area, and we're doing our best to work with other bodies there to conserve that. Next slide, thanks. So you've just got a photo here. The guy holding up the small palm is one of our highly experienced trainers, and the guy in the light blue shirt next to him is also another experienced trainer that we have. So, you know, this is another region in Siak Palawan. It's another big project, and it's got a lot of support from Cargill, L'Oreal, Nestle, Pepsi Lever, Unilever, ProForest, and Diameter. So again, focusing on multi-stakeholder programs. We can go down, thanks. So, you know, we can give all sorts of feedback, but the feedback that's really important is from people who've used the program, who know about the program. And there's some information there, but we'll go to the next slide, thanks. Now, this is something that later on, if you have time and you want to go to our website, which is Musimas, you can just look up Musimas and go through our sustainability section. We've done a number of videos to look at what's the impact been of the work that we've done with independent smallholders. So I think that's something that's really important because it's in the words of the smallholders themselves. So, you know, that's a little bit of promotion about what we've been doing, but that's the end of the slideshow. But what I'd like to do now is just discuss the three key questions. So that slide's finished. Thanks very much. So that's the end of the slideshow. I've just got some information I'd like to discuss. When I was approached to do a presentation today, there were three questions put forward. Why smallholder inclusivity is important. Number two, does smallholder inclusivity improve the sustainability of the palm oil industry? And thirdly, how effective are certificates in improving smallholder inclusivity and palm oil sustainability? So I'd just like to cover those questions one by one, and then we'll have time for a discussion. So the first question, why smallholder inclusivity is important. So I think you can see from the presentation, you can see the sheer number of smallholders in Indonesia and the size of the land bank they control. This is critical, and it's only going to become more important as the number of smallholders grow or the land area that is controlled by smallholders grow. So key reasons inclusivity is important. It's important to the economy of Indonesia. It's critical that independent smallholders meet consumer good companies' environmental, social, and economic criteria. Access to international supply chains is critical for these smallholders. We need to improve the livelihoods of independent smallholders and their families. But here's some other really important points. We need to increase the yields per hectare for smallholders so that we can focus on intensification rather than expansion. Excuse me. We need to improve agronomic knowledge of smallholders. We need to raise awareness of supply chain demands and regulations. And we need to maintain independent smallholders in terms of access to finance. So it's a lot of points that I'm going to raise here, but it's really critical. So I think for the first point, it's very clear why smallholders are, inclusivity is important. Now, secondly, the question was, does smallholder inclusivity improve the sustainability of the palm oil industry? For me, yes, I believe it's an overwhelming yes. With inclusivity, the relationship between growers, processors, buyers, consumer good companies and the end user is greatly increased. Historically, independent smallholders have had limited and at times strained relationships with larger companies. This has led to independent smallholders, growers and buyers operating in these silos. This is me, that is you. And when this occurs, communication is limited and relationships are weak. Now, for a positive, transparent and mutually beneficial relationship to exist, there must be communication. So communication is the cornerstone of trust. So our experience working with independent smallholders has proven that the key to meaningful interactions and progress is the relationship, and it is established and maintained. And only with a positive relationship built on communication and trust can any real progress be made. You know, we're quite often challenging independent smallholders to change practices and adopt new values. And this can only be done if we have the trust of the independent smallholders. Hence, you know, it's really important that the relationship that I mentioned before is established and maintained. So independent smallholders often have limited knowledge of international supply chain demands and the need for more sustainable practices. So to effect change, we must include independent smallholders who are a massive and growing part of the industry. The number of hectares controlled by independent smallholders is going to expand, and that's why it's important that they're included. It is important to note that, you know, Musimas highly values the relationship we have developed with independent smallholders in our supply base. Although the scale has yet to reach the numbers that we want to, Musimas firmly believes in establishing long-term relationships with independent smallholders. You know, a really valuable part of the lessons learned out of the IFC Musimas iPods project that was highly successful is that, you know, we need to have that relationship. And once again, I say that, you know, I think IFC deserves a lot of credit because it was a very innovative approach and it was something that they hadn't done before in such a hands-on way. So for independent smallholders to change and become more self-sustaining, which includes environmental, social, and economic performance, partnerships are required with companies like Musimas, or NGOs, government department, with long-term commitments. So for us, it's a business decision as well. The more that we can interact and positively influence smallholders, the better it is for the industry. It means that we have better access to market because smallholders are producing in an environmentally correct manner. We're getting better quality oil and we're getting more of it produced in the same area without expansion. So by the sheer number of independent smallholders, any improvement in their environmental, social, and economic performance leads to a more sustainable palm oil industry. And thirdly, there was a question, how effective are certificates in improving smallholder inclusivity and palm oil sustainability? Now, our experience has demonstrated that certification schemes are one extremely positive approach to inclusivity and sustainability. So some of the key lessons we learned from that were, it improves the independent smallholders' knowledge. It broadens the business understanding of independent smallholders. It makes them more accountable for their actions. It develops new ways for independent smallholders to view themselves, and it strengthens the purpose of farmer groups. So much of the work we do with independent smallholders is preparing them for certification or strengthening the farmer group they belong to. We've seen RSPO and ISPO certified groups become much more business orientated that reflects the needs of the independent smallholders and meets the requirements of certification schemes and consumer good company demands or expectations. So one example is that, you know, with the 4 associations that we work with, they have opted to enroll all of their members in a thing called BPJS, which is like health insurance and superannuation. Now, for the vast majority of independent smallholders, this is the first time that they've had this facility. And after some hesitation, membership is being embraced. So it shows that, you know, from the money generated from the RSPO sale of credits, yes, money is a motivator, but independent smallholders are getting to learn, oh, there's these other elements that are important to our business, such as health insurance, such as life insurance, such as superannuation. So this is providing more services, and it's been recognised as important, which is improving the business practices of the smallholders. So this assists independent smallholders understand that they're small business operators and not some noble farmer who is not really important. Rather, that they are an important part of the industry, but they need to engage in certain practices and processes that will make them more self-sustaining and ensure access to markets, which is really critical. So it's important to understand that certification is not for everyone. So we need to ensure that we also look at farmer groups as a way of developing inclusivity. Active and well-coordinated farmer groups are key to improved performances. Therefore, farmer groups need to be included in independent smallholder programs. It's all about raising the base level, and the farmer groups are the keystones to communicating and addressing issues. So while certification is really important, farmer group and how they can work on some of these targets is really important too. Now, so I don't bore everyone, I've just got 5 key points or key themes I'd like to round off my presentation with. So the points that I would say from the questions that were raised to me: inclusivity is a social and economic necessity. Inclusivity is vital to a sustainable industry. Smallholders are small business operators, and as such, focus needs to be on self-sustaining and resilient business operators. And this can be done by farmer groups leading to certification, such as ISPO and RSPO. So change is built by relationships. Relationships are built on trust, and trust is built over time. So it's a process and a continuum. There's no definite starting point and no definite end point. It's a continuation of a journey towards a more sustainable industry. So with that, thanks very much. They're the key points that I'd like to put across from my discussion today, and I'll leave the floor open for any questions that people may have.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Rob. I think that people outside Indonesia, or maybe even Indonesians themselves, just know like Indonesia is a palm oil country, producing country, like, and full stop. That's it. Maybe like not a lot of people know like the big part that smallholders play in, and why inclusivity is important. Much less why inclusivity is important to smallholders, like you said before. Okay, I'd like to open the discussion session for today, and please, anyone that have any questions, they will be displayed on the presentation by our team. Ask away. Okay. Okay. So the first question is from Mr. Andy. When Musimas assisted the smallholder for RSPO certificate, did it raise the incremental cost of Musimas? Okay, please, Mr. Rob.
Yeah, there is a cost to assisting farmers get certification, but overall, we think that in the long term, that money will come back. How will that money come back? Through better relationships with smallholders. You know, it's better community spirit, better community relationships. But from a purely business point of view, if we can assist farmers gain certification, they're going to be producing better quality crop with higher quality oil. So on a business point of view, yeah, there is a cost to having all the people in the field that we do have, but in the long term, we think that it's going to open doors for us to have better volumes and better quality. But more importantly, I think it's important for the industry, because as an industry, we have had a bad reputation. And what we're trying to do is address that. And yeah, it's a process. It's not quick, but we really wanted people internationally as well to understand that the industry has made huge changes. There's been a lot of improvements, and there's always improvements continue to be made. But incremental costs are there, but it's not huge in the overall picture.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Rob. Mr. Andy, do you have any follow-up questions?
Yeah, Pak Rob, I want to ask you the next question. Maybe you can explain us why I think many companies in Indonesia refuse to have or to access the smallholder to get a certificate such as RSPO. Yeah, I think maybe it is about the cost, but from
sorry, I have to interrupt. Mr. Andy, can you open your camera so we can see you?
Sorry. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Thank you for your explanation. But it is interesting for me because many big companies in Indonesia, most of them refuse to access or to help smallholder to achieve such as a certificate such as a RSPO or ISPO. Maybe about, I think before, maybe about costly, but from your explanation, it is not about a cost. So can you explain why many of big companies not easily to help smallholder farmer to achieve a global certificate such as RSPO? Thank you, Pak.
Okay, thanks, Pan. I mean, I can't talk for other companies specifically, but what I can talk about is our experiences. You know, Musimas, one of the first companies to get involved in working with independent smallholders. Yeah, there was fear that there was going to be costs, and yes, there are costs, and yes, you know, I think my own view is independent smallholders and big companies have had a strained relationship over a period of time. And it's like anything. If there's a group A and a group B, and they live on either side of a river, and group A has all these impressions of group B, and group B has all these impressions of group A, there's a gap, and that gap sometimes leads to false belief, false conflict. So I think there's been a lack of support because, oh, you do your thing, we'll do our thing. But from Musimas, you know, we've taken a bigger picture view that we know that the international community is demanding more inclusivity. It's demanding better environmental standards. So, you know, we don't want it to be seen that this is just a CSR project. You know, Musimas is being nice guys and we're doing the right thing so people will pat us on the back. We want to improve our market share. And how do we do that? By doing the right things, working with people who need it. But we have demands of them as well. We want them to perform. We want them to produce more oil. We want to produce better quality, but we want to see them move ahead. My senior management have said there must be something in this for the smallholders. The company cannot just win. We want smallholders to move ahead as well. Because if they move ahead, we move ahead. If we move ahead and we step on the smallholders, eventually it's going to be our downfall. So it's got to be a win-win mentality, both economically, socially, and environmentally. So I think, you know, a lot of companies may have had misgivings and false feelings that, yeah, this is going to be really difficult. The independent smallholders are going to be difficult to work with. And from independent smallholders, they say it's really difficult to work with big companies. They just want this and that. So there is some misunderstanding. And as I come back to what I said before, so much of it is around communication and developing relationships based on trust. So I think we're starting to see some companies, some of the big companies start to do more around independent smallholders, and we hope that increases. It has to increase. So I hope, Andy, that's answered a little bit, but yeah, I think a lot of it's based on prior experience and beliefs held by both sides, both the independent smallholders and the big companies.
Thank you, Warab.
Okay, Mr. Andi, any more follow-up questions?
No, thank you. Thank you, Warab.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, Mr. Andi, for your question. We'll move on to the next one from Mr. Denny from USU. Mr. Denny asked that, what's the big difference of part model training for smallholders with training for trainers, the smallholder hub? What are the big differences between these two? Thank you, Mr. Rob.
Okay, so the modules or the training materials are very similar, but the training we provide to the trainers, the trainers, is most probably just a little bit more in detail, and it's also more about the skill of how we train people. Whereas the training that we provide for smallholders is simplified to a degree. You know, and I want to be very clear when we say we simplify it, not because the smallholders aren't intelligent, but sometimes some of the technical vocabulary, the terms used in some of the major publications is quite complicated. And sometimes some of our smallholders have got a limited level of education. So what we want to do is provide the modules and the training in a relaxed environment, yet we have to make it relevant and easy to understand. For our village extension officers, for our trainers, we want to give them a little bit more knowledge so they feel more confident to be able to train the farmers in case they're asked extra questions. So the base of both modules are the same, but we add a little bit extra for the trainers. But when we do our training for the smallholders, if they have specific questions, more in depth, we have skilled agronomists who can answer for them. So yeah, they're very similar, but just we have a little bit more depth for the trainers.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rob. Mr. Denny, do you have any follow-up questions?
Enough, it's clear. Thank you, sir.
Bye, Denny.
Thank you, Mr. Denny. Now we move on to Mrs. Diana. I'm sorry, it's the wrong slide. Okay, there was a mistake. That was your key questions before. Okay, we'll move on to Victor's question from Laval University. Were there any NGOs that didn't want to work with you? Do you have trust issues between different parties? And if yes, how do you get by these challenges? And do you see a new trend from big companies with different commodities to work more with smallholders? Thanks, Mr. Rob.
Yeah, you know, for some time, there's been a number of NGOs that don't want to work with the palm oil industry. You know, we work with a couple of NGOs who are campaigning NGOs. They're not, you know, just NGOs. They actively campaign internationally against palm oil or rogue producers. So yes, there are some NGOs who even till now don't want to work with the palm oil industry, but we haven't shied away from that because we know if you don't work together, we'll not get solutions. So even some of the NGOs that have been very harsh critics of us, we've sat down with, but we want to find out what is it that's going to actually resolve this issue. And there's got to be give and take on both sides. So trust is obviously a big part of that because, you know, for a long time, you're on that side of the river, I'm on this side of the river. I'll throw rocks at you. We'll just build bigger fences so we don't need to deal with you. So that's been something that's been, you know, historically happened a lot. So how do we get over those challenges is communicate. And it's setting up meetings, it's setting up discussions. It's about, okay, we're going to do this. What would you suggest? We don't take on all the points suggested by NGOs. They don't take on all the points that we suggest. But, you know, this week, at the beginning of this week, we had a meeting here in our office with one of the international campaigning NGOs. But we've got to a point where they challenge us constantly, but they're willing to sit with us and discuss and ask us, what are you doing on this? What's your strategy? They ask to have some input on it. So I think trust and communication, again, come through as really important, not only just working with smallholders, but with the NGOs. And for the last part of that question, you know, we're trying to learn from other commodities, what they're doing with smallholders like coffee, tea, cocoa, because those industries have an even higher percentage of smallholders in the production cycle. So we're starting to work with buyers like General Mills, who buy from other commodities, and ask them, okay, well, what programs? And so they might say, oh, we've done this project in Vietnam, we've done this project in South America, or we've done this program in Africa. So we try and pick from them the ideas that have worked really well in different countries. Obviously, there's cultural differences, but at the end of the day, we're looking for ideas that may work in our industry as well. So I think it is a trend where big companies from different commodities are sharing and yeah, trying to achieve better outcomes by working together.
Thank you so much. I don't have any more questions. Thank you for your answer.
Thank you, Victor.
Thank you, Victor. We'll move on to the next question. I think this is our last question from Diana. She says that including smallholders needs a lot of money and long-term commitment. Musimas has a significant contribution as an individual and has a long experience in supporting partnerships to scale up the movement. However, comparing to the 3 million smallholders in Indonesia, certified smallholders, both ISPO and RSPO, are still less than 5%. What is your suggestion in addressing this? Please, Mr. Rob.
Yeah, thanks, Dana. It's the $1 million question. But yeah, we've got to strive to find some solution. One of the things I will say, there are other companies doing good work as well. I don't want to sound as though it's only Musimas. We know of some small companies, have 1 or 2 mills who have fantastic relationships with the local community. And, I'm not making that up. You can go to companies that we work with in Aceh, who the general manager can walk through the village next door and people call him in to eat durian and drink coffee. And it's all about the relationship they've developed. Now, that's a small company, but we're getting some of the bigger companies, and I think, they're starting to look at how can they work together. So part of it is we need to work together with other big companies and share ideas. Even if we don't get on, not everybody gets on, but at least we're getting to the stage where we can discuss and say, well, look, we're working in this region and we're working with these villages. We're happy for you to work in this, but we're working with these villages. Can you work on those villages? So it's about coordination. It's about working with the government. Because while we do have RSPO, ISPO, and I think we need to recognize that Indonesia is a sovereign country. And ISPO is so important because it comes from Indonesia, for Indonesia. So, we respect that. There's certain challenges with ISPO because there's a lot of different departments involved in it. But that's something that's got to happen. And I think the more big companies realize that this isn't going to go away, but there it is for everybody. And I think we're at a point now where campaigning NGOs have put that much pressure on. You can't close your eyes and put your head in the sand and say, oh, we don't want to do this. The problem's not going to go away. We've identified this some time ago, and we know that, and that's why we're ramped up. But we're not, to be honest, going to expand our numbers anymore. We want to focus on quality. But what we hope is that we're influencing other companies to become involved. We really think that by training the trainers, that's where the scale up comes. And we need companies to partner with smallholders, but it's got to be a long-term partnership. I'll be very open about it. We work with associations. If we work with them for 1 or 2 years, we help them become incorporated, they get accredited, and then we walk away. 99% of them will fail. I'm not being derogatory, I'm not being negative. It's just that these small farmers don't have the experience. So, over time, they're becoming more and more independent. We want them to be independent, but we need to be their partners. We need to be there as, brother or sister working together. And it's not for us to dominate what they do, but it's for us to provide advice and support where it's needed. And we're seeing the relationship mature that we have with some of the group managers, where we have 2 meetings a year with the associations. They bring their, 2 or 3 people from each association, and they say, we're not happy with this. We want this. And we'll say, well, we're not happy with that. We want this. But it's done in a very controlled manner. It's not shouting. It's not screaming. It's not threatening. It's all, let's sit around the table and work out what we can do together. So I think a big thing there, Ibu, is that, you know, we need bigger companies, we need middle-level companies to continue to work on this, but we need the government to take the lead. Because at the end of the day, Indonesia is controlled by the people's representatives. We got to respect that. So that's why a lot of the programs where we do our train the trainer programs are in areas where the local government is very supportive. They want to do this. So it's very easy for us to do it. So I think, you know, it's a case of private industry supporting the government to achieve their goals, but no one individual group is fully responsible. The independent smallholders themselves need to take responsibility for this as well. So it's a real combined effort.
She said thank you. I think her
Okay.
mic is kind of malfunctioning.
No
So
problem. Thanks,
that
Lou.
was the last question, and that's the end of our discussion session. Mr. Rob, thank you very much for your time today. I hope that we'll see you again in future events. Maybe have a cup of coffee and a durian together with us. We'll
Definitely.
hope to see you in future events. Thank you once again. We have a certificate for you, certificate of
Thank-
appreciation.
Thank you. Well,
Okay.
I hope one day with the next visit of students that we can go out to the field, meet some of the smallholders. We'll go and sit in a pondok and makan durian sama-sama.
Yeah, yeah. Not many bule likes durian, you know, sir. So
Yeah, saya apa boleh gila ya.
all right. That's from
Okay.
your words,
Yeah.
not mine. Okay.
Yeah, but it's true. Yeah, itu benar. Okay, terima kasih banyak. Thanks very much, everybody. Have a great afternoon, good morning. Thanks, Ibu, Diana. We'll catch up again soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Take care, Mr. Rob.
Thank you. Bye.
See ya. Okay, that was our first and final speaker for today. Before we move on to our post-test, we have a small video from our team. Please wait a moment. Sorry, I think there's no audio coming out, so we'll try to replay the video. Hold on a moment, please, while we straighten our technical issues here. Okay, that was a small video about smallholders from our team. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Difficulties there for a second. We'll now move on to our post test. Our team will share the link in a moment. Please stand by. All right. You guys can join now. Same question as the pre-test, but we just want to see what are your opinions now that you have listened to Mr. Rob's presentation and discussions. So first, what is a supply chain? Link between producer and user. Yep. Yep. Response is different already. That's great news. Shows that at least presentation had increased our knowledge of supply chain involves all actors from start to the end. Yep. A coordinating system, collaboration between the what? Anyone can guess? Okay, we got 4 responses already. Let's wait for a couple more. I think for this answer, all these 4 responses are different from last time, which is great. Okay, yeah. I think we can move on to the next question. Who are the players in the palm oil supply chain? Okay, we got I'm sorry, technical difficulties. We got 9 responses already. Dependent smallholders, companies, buyers, smallholders, NGOs. Yep. Like I said before, the supply chain is huge. There are a lot of players, and yeah, and there are no wrong answers here. Okay, we got 9 people already. Let's move on to the next one. What do you know about smallholders? Okay, so Mr. Rob discussed in a pretty detailed manner about them. So maybe we'll see some big changes to this answer, or maybe not. Who knows? Scale farmers enthusiastic to work. Well, depends really. Everyone has those guys who loves work, and everyone has those who would rather, you know, be unemployed, but they gotta eat. Less than 20 hectares, less scale, crucial to sustainability. Market lacking. Maybe they lack access to their market, or the market lacks their demand. Financial lack, that's definitely yes, compared to companies. Okay, we got 7 already. I think we'll wait a few more moments, then we'll move on. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Okay, smallholders. Do smallholders play a crucial part in the palm oil supply chain? I think this is also was discussed in depth by Mr. Rob. If yes, please elaborate a little bit. Yeah, the same goes for no answers. Inclusivity is after they are provided for, or they are provided after they can provide for the family. Okay. Yep, I think that Mr. Rob also discussed inclusivity and why is it important for smallholders, like why we need to support them, why they need to be trained, and so on and so forth. But maybe it's kind of hard to summarize that in 3 or 4 words. So yeah, I get it. Okay, we only got 3. Let's wait for a few more. Maybe wait for 7 to 9 people. And driver of environmental issues. Yeah, maybe the environmental issues is caused by the lack of capital, You don't have the capital to use sustainability products and practices. You got to resort to cheaper, more environmentally damaging practices. Okay. Let's move on to the next one. Are there an inclusive part in the palm oil supply chain? They're just like the pretest. They here means the smallholders. For those that are maybe confused, not inclusive without them. Yeah, yeah, yes. See that more and more companies try to include them in the supply chain, like by training them, like for example, like Musimas, as we've seen just now. They try to give them certification and so on. Yep, it depends really. And just like there was a question, some companies are scared to facilitate smallholders for certification. I think there was a question like that, if I'm not wrong. They're the biggest actors. Yeah, I think in Indonesia they have like 40%, I think, currently. And I think the data shows that it's gonna keep growing every year. Okay. Let's move on to the next question. Oh, I think. Oh, sorry, that was the last question. Okay. That was it for our posters. We can all see that there are some changes in the answers from the pre-test to the post-test. So I guess Rob's presentation had a great impact on us. Okay. We now move on to a video. Our team has a video for all of you. This is an example video for tomorrow's presentation. So maybe for those who are confused on how to start, yeah, you can use this as a reference. And I think that this video will also be shared in your WhatsApp group. Okay, here it is. Once again, I'd like to apologize for the sound issues. Our team is working on it currently. Okay, sorry about that. We're still having sound issues, so we'll just share the example video in your WhatsApp group. And there it is. You can also watch it from. You can also see the link from the chat. Our team has sent the link in the chat. And oh, we're playing it now. Okay.
9 billion. How can has been increasing every single year? The projection for population in 2050 is 9 billion. How can we provide basic needs such as clean drinking water, healthcare, education to all these people? How can we protect biodiversity and take solid action to climate change?
It takes us back to sustainability, where the future generation could fulfill their own needs. Everyone is talking about sustainable development. But what does that really mean?
The concept emerged in the late 1980s as a result of response to the world's growing social and environmental problems. The solution to this was a new kind of development, or what we call sustainable development. Sustainable development means economic growth must be achieved with respect to nature and also humankind. Economic goals, social responsibility, and environmental protection. Sustainability development can be achieved when these three factors are being considered before taking development action.
So why is it important? Sustainability affects just about everything. It affects your life on Earth. You'll inhale less pollution, experience less extreme weather conditions, and enjoy the natural beauties the Earth provides. It affects the planet and other inhabitants. We don't live here alone. We have other residents, such as animals, insects, and sea life. It affects the future generations. We don't want to compromise the ability of future generations to live a happy and healthy life on Earth.
So what should we do? Do the Goguen concept, 3R, reduce, reuse, recycle. Lessen vehicle emissions by catching public transport. Grow your own food, herbs, fruits, and veggies at your small garden. Finally, shop sustainably. If you don't, who will? Love your earth.
Okay, that was an example video for tomorrow's presentation. There are other, if you want to watch other examples, you can click the link that was shared. I think that's a playlist for all the presentation videos. So I think there are 3 topics that are divided between the groups: deforestation, traceability, and inclusivity. Inclusivity. Okay, so the point of this all these videos, we want to raise awareness about inclusivity and sustainability. So yeah, we hope that you can make it as great as possible. So and I just want to remind you all for the summary for today's topic. So the total videos that you have to turn in is first the introduction video. The second one is the summary video for each day. So summary video for day 1, 2, and 3. And the third one is the presentation video. Yeah. Remember, you can check out the examples from the link that was shared by our team. If you're confused, I think there are examples for all the video, for the introduction, for the summary, and also for the presentation. Okay, since we only have 1 speaker for today, I think that concludes our workshop today. Remember, tomorrow we don't have any speakers, we will have a presentation. Don't forget to turn in your videos in the link shared in the WhatsApp group. Yeah, I think that's it. Take care, everybody. Good day. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Koordinasi untuk program yang udah disetujui dengan, nah sebenarnya sih harusnya di IMPGT juga Bu.
It's also under the responsibility of the plantation manager. Existing network are very good because the execution of the project.
Okay, so this is our agenda for today. First,
Hello everyone, we are here from Group 1 from the Sustainable Workshop. I'm from Indonesia, especially University of Medan State.
Everyone, I'm Shu.
she's Indonesian and she's from Jambi.
And upstate in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. She is originally from southern part of Thailand.
She's from Sabah, Malaysia.
Hello everyone, I'm Sarisha, the coordinator of the Group 8 in this workshop.
Recently North Myanmar is an international.
Daddy, this studies from Indonesia.
I'm from Malaya University in Thailand.
But at the same time, we can fly further and broaden our network, and we can meet here relatively easily. We also realize that we have some common interests and concerns.
Welcome to Universitas Sumatera Utara. Welcome to the workshop entitled Palm Oil Sustainable Supply Chains and Sustainable Landscape.
Led by Dr. Diana Charlier, Chairman for the IMPGT Seminar Subcommittee. Congratulations for successfully hosting the workshop.
We need you. We need young people. We need innovative people. We need new brains, new ideas, because the world is changing.
Our ground goals for a few days until 30 September. Agriculture surveys, people, planet, profit. Okay.
Apa itu traceability dan bagaimana penerapannya?
So this map illustrates our footprint. As you see, the mills that we procure from are situated.
Dengan aplikasi ini saya harapkan cukup kita inputkan data 1 kali, orang nanti anggota masing-masing bisa langsung akses.
Our palm base around you, not our own external product base, but our palm base around you. So I will give.
Okay, 9 participants respond.
Palm oil supply chain is affect many things, especially the environment.
Particularly Indonesia and Malaysia. which together are responsible for most of the world palm oil supply.
Because that plantation is already exists. So how can we help them in order?
And causes more public natural disaster.
Each year, 15 billion trees are lost to deforestation and forest degradation.
What about important deforestation? How useful is the concept? So let's take the worst hypothesis. Let's imagine that 100% of all palm would cause deforestation.
How can we actually preserve that high or maybe medium level of crop production and yet at the same time sustain all other kinds of ecosystem services?
It is on the starting slope, but very slow, I have a feeling.
All of the things from the very beginning until the product are arrived for the consumer is called as supply chain.
Forestation is defined as the permanent conversion of forest area into settlement for human activity.
Certification seperti apa yang lebih bisa diterima, bagaimana menjadikan expo lebih baik sehingga dapat diterima.
Absolutely agreed by CIRAD. We talk about the challenges and the perspectives of certifying this kind of production like the palm oil.
Has been explained comprehensively by Dr. Lang. And another point perhaps is that as pillars, the three pillars.
They own the mills. So you can imagine how efficient is the system because there's no negotiation of buying price, of transportation price, and so on. The whole system belongs to.
What is the benefit of being sustainably certified?
First, it shows that the company complied with the standard. So consumer can see that rules and regulations have been put to work.
That cooperate with the both profit and private partnership.
And in other way around, it won't hurt the local economy, but it would actually help in raising the economy for the entire world.
And finally, the palm oil industry should be implementing a diversity policy.
Palm oil is an edible vegetable oil that comes from the fruit of palm tree.
WI analysis showed that deforestation in the period 2013 until 2017.
By educating them about the effect of their actions, such as palm oil consumption.
So there are three categories to meet the certification criteria. The first one is
combining all of three components of social progress, economic progress, and environment, we can move towards a sustainable future.
It's also the ability of the present generation to meet our own needs.
ability affects just about everything. It affects your life on Earth. You'll inhale less pollution.
Don't waste your time. You have to think alone. That will be more.
Palm oil is actually the most efficient oil to produce. It comes out from the fruit of the palm oil tree. It can produce more.
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
So I just asked Maria. I have done my responsibility.
I am yet to respond on this best awareness reason because yes, please. Yes.
Because finishing the research in September.
Okay. What matters the most is the effort and commitment that you had shown, and not to forget the friendship which established among you, isn't it? Okay. Okay. The winner for the press presentation on supply chain goes to group 2. The second runner-up goes to group 3. The first place goes to group 2 and the second place goes to group 3. Okay, congratulations. For best presentation award on deforestation goes to group 5. On deforestation group goes to group 4. Certification, first place goes to group 9 and the first runner-up or the second place goes to group 8. Group 1, Group 6, Group 10.
Thank you very much, and take care of yourself, your family, and your loved ones. Hope to see you face to face very soon. Bye bye. Thank you very much.